Do you love the Tabernacle Choir? This year, the choir's music is everywhere you are. Listen to your favorite choir songs and music and the spoken word anytime you want on Alexa by simply enabling the skill.
Alexa, play music in the spoken word.
Now playing music in the spoken word.
You can also download the Tabernacle Choir app, subscribe to the choir on YouTube, listen on Spotify, and have access to all their wonderful music. Happy listening.
Your home for the best sports radio for your afternoon drive is right here. This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Senegal still up on Belgium 2-0. Just a reminder that if the U.S. can beat Bosnia and Herzegovina, they would play the winner of this match. I'd have to look at the rankings, Ben, but I would think Senegal winning is a huge upset. That's probably pretty good for Team USA, who has had trouble beating European teams.
Yep.
So, big trade in Mammoth land today. Vincent Trochek is on his way from New York to Utah in exchange for Sean Durzi, Cole Beaudoin, and a third-round pick. Joining us now to talk about it, our Mammoth Insider for KSLSports.com. He has a breakdown of the trade up online at KSLSports.com as we speak. He's our buddy Cole Bagley. What's going on, Cole?
How much, guys? How you doing?
We're doing well. All right, Cole, give us a breakdown on who Vincent Trochek is and why he's been somebody that's been closely linked to the Mammoth, and apparently they've been chasing for a while.
Yeah, I mean, Vincent Trochek is one of those gritty, grimy veteran centers that are hard to come by, and you know, Utah has long since coveted him because that's an area that they've greatly lacked. Obviously, as reported by Elliot Friedman, this is a guy that they've been after for some time. They even tried acquiring him last season, but weren't able to get it done. But, coming into free agency in the off season, it finally worked out because, Trochek was, looking for a new place to go, a change of scenery, and Utah had obviously opened up some cap space and were willing to part with a couple of those assets to get a guy like that. So, no, I think this is a great fit for the Mammoths. Obviously, he's 32, so he's probably a little bit older than you would necessarily hope or want, but he's very experienced. He won a gold medal with Team USA. Just a few months ago was on the team with Clayton Keller. Was a huge part of the United States power kill. And like I said, I think this is a really good pickup for Utah.
Lineup wise, where does he fit?
It's a good question. Utah now has a lot better center depth than they've had over recent years. Obviously, Schmaltz moved to center. They've got Logan Cooley. They re-signed Kevin Stenlund today as well. They're still trying to work things out with Barrett Hayton. And so, the question is, where does he fit in? Is it worth moving Schmaltz back to the wing and Trochek as your 1C, or is it better to have Trochek maybe as your third line center? There's a lot that will definitely need to be worked out, but that's why you have training camp, and I'm sure Utah will definitely figure those things out from there.
Just as far as how much better are the Mammoth today? Just big picture, a lot better, a little bit better. This is a major piece. This is a guy you're counting on the playoffs. How do you view it?
I think they're a little bit better. This isn't an acquisition of a guy like a Zach Werenski or a Dylan Larkin or an Austin Matthews or he's not a superstar, but he's a guy that I think can come in and help continue to improve the culture of the Utah Mammoth, who can come in and help fill some needs. Looking back at their postseason run against Vegas, one thing that Coach Andre Tourney talked to us about just last week in regard to that was, both he and the front office have been reflecting a lot on their current roster and looking at guys who were just 82 game players and guys who could help them go beyond that, right? Which guys are going to not only play 82, which guys are going to step up in the postseason when it matters most. And I think getting a guy like Vincent Trochek signals to this team that they're raising the expectations, that it's not just about getting to the playoffs, but it's about winning a playoff series. And I think Trochek is a guy that can help them do that.
We had Kyler Yamamoto on yesterday after his contract extension. Are there any other guys that they have to make a decision on whether or not to re-sign?
No, I mean, for the most part, everybody's moved on at this point that's going to move on. Kerfoot signed with Nashville. Ian Cole signed with Chicago. They obviously did not decide to bring back Vanacek, who signed with the New York Islanders, and then bringing back Yamamoto, signing Stemlin today. I think the only one really remaining of that group is Barrett Hayton, but he's a restricted free agent, and things are a little bit different as the team has filed for arbitration. So beyond that, most of their pending free agents have now got new deals.
What do you think of how much the Mammoth gave up? What do you think of Durzi, who had some moments? It didn't seem like he ever really quite lived up to some of the expectations for him, and then we have not seen Cole Beaudoin yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty decent trade package. I think it's pretty fair going both ways. It's tough. It's tough to part with a prospect like Cole Beaudoin. I've been able to watch him this week at development camp. I'm sure it's pretty strange for him. He's in Utah one day and the next he's traded to New York. I'm sure he's packing his bags and getting ready to head out east to join that group. It's tough because, he's a very competitive guy. I think he's a very good all-around 200-foot player that, could have made an impact for this team. But at some point, Utah has an embarrassment of riches. They have so many young prospects that they can't even sign all of them. And, they obviously just scored with, their first-round draft pick this year in Ethan Belchez, and, a bigger guy who, can add, I think, a little bit more than a guy like Cole Beaudoin can. Obviously, two different positions, but really, really good player with a lot of size. And so, I'm sure that the front office looked at it and went, look, we've got more guys than we can sign. We've got to move them. We really like Trochek, and Cole Beaudoin's probably a guy that moves the needle enough to get them to make the deal. In terms of Sean Durzi, I don't know that they're going to really miss him all that much. He was a good player. I think his role was more of kind of a cheerleader, kind of a guy that, a good locker room guy who was going to, fight for anybody, stand up for anybody. But he had some pretty, notable mistakes this year. He's a guy that he tries to be a puck mover a little bit too much, and if you looked a little bit deeper at his metrics and analytics, he cost the Mammoth a lot of goals. And so I think they probably looked at that and said, you know what, we can get a guy like Trochek. We're going to give up, a good prospect, but we have plenty. And then, things with Sean Durzi just aren't quite working out. And we have other guys that we can have fill in for us. So overall, I think it's a win-win for both teams. New York needed some youth. They needed to add more to their prospect pool. So they get a good prospect in Cole Beaudoin, and then coming the other way, a very, very talented veteran center in Vincent Trochek that I think, slightly raises the ceiling for this team.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Okay, you mentioned that glut of prospects and young talent. Who of those has a chance to make the team next year?
Yeah, this fall, I think that I'd say the expectation, for this fall is that Boot and Simashev probably make their roster. Those are two guys that obviously spent a little bit of time with the Mammoth this last year, but they played the majority of the season in the AHL. And I say that should be the expectation because they've been in the prospect pool, they've been in the system for quite a few years, and I think it would mean that something's wrong if those two aren't ready to make the roster. But I think seeing Durzi on the move, seeing Utah not pursue re-signing Ian Cole. I think that kind of, I think that is a nod that Simashev is probably ready to make this team. As for Daniil Boot, I think, the fact that they have passed on a couple of other forwards, I think that's also a pretty good nod and gives you a pretty good idea that he's potentially ready to make the opening day roster. And then amongst the rest of their prospects, they've got a lot of first-round picks, right? They've still got Denoye, they've got Iginla. They've got their recent first-round pick in Ethan Belchez. I would say that one of either Iginla or Denoye will probably make the opening night roster. And, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. I know that Denoye, he's probably got the best overall skill. But, when I look at a guy like T.J. Iginla, this past week, he's just looked like a player that's ready to make the team. Despite it just being a development camp, he realizes and recognizes that there are eyeballs on him right now. I mean, Bill Armstrong is watching him very closely. Bear has been, sniffing around development camp, and he has an opportunity to show them that he means business even during a camp that really doesn't matter all that much. This is a camp where they're not necessarily looking at skill, it's more about culture. But Tej has taken every opportunity to be laser focused and show off his skill and talent. So I think based on what I've seen this week and based on the new additions that Utah has made today by bolstering their center depth, I would say that Tej Iginla might be starting to emerge from those two as the most likely to make the team.
Cole, we appreciate you and all your fine work following breaking news, man. We appreciate it.
Great stuff, Cole.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
There you go, Cole Bagley, the Utah Mammoth Insider. Yeah, trade for now. I think that's the position that the Mammoth are in at the moment. They've got a glut of young prospects and players, so if they're not quite there, find something that's going to help you at the moment. I think the Mammoth need to be a threat in the playoffs next year. I think that's where the bar moves.
And if Trochek brings the toughness, even though he's not huge, 5'11", though, if he's tough in front of the net and can get, as Cole said, get some of those grimier goals and maybe, kind of take a load off of some other players, that's a huge plus because they were clearly missing that in the playoffs. And look, the team they nearly beat in the playoffs, nearly doesn't matter, but nearly beat in the playoffs, went to the Stanley Cup Finals. So just need to get hot and have the right players.
Say that again, Christian. Come on the air.
The Utah Mammoth, per Frank Saravalli, just signed Anders Lee. He was a captain for the New York Islanders.
Okay.
So the Mammoth taking another big name New York player.
See if we can get our Mammoth Insider Cole Bagley on the phone.
I wonder if he's busy.
What he's up to.
Missed that news. Come on now. Okay, so another signing for the Mammoth.
Aggressive.
Continue to be active.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the franchise feels like next year could be a positive step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Onward and upward, Ben.
Yep.
All right, stay tuned. We'll have more Jake and Ben coming up next. We'll continue to talk Jazz and Walker Kessler. We've got Big T Thurl Bailey. Yes, no big deal. Big T is going to be on the show at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. Stay tuned. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.